You ever had those moments when, if you're a booktube creator, where an idea comes to you and you're like, oh, I gotta do that, and you jump right in and you do it? Welcome or welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Yes, today I am coming to you with a video. Inspiration struck, and it struck today. And speaking of inspiration, what a great lead-in to today's topic. Today, I'm talking about the topic of books that inspired me to pick up another book. Now, isn't that something? This has happened for me maybe more than 3 times, but I went to my bookshelf and just had a quick think, and I managed to pull 3 examples for you all that I can pull from. I've probably had this happen more than 3 times, but I would hazard a guess it'd be no more than 5 or 6. It is a rarity for me. But I just want to take this moment to say anytime a book can inspire you to do anything, that is amazing in and of itself. And to give you an example, I was recently reading Flowers and Foul Play, book number 1 in the Magic Garden Mystery Series by Amanda Flower. And the main character is sitting down to have dinner with someone, one of the other characters, and she created a grilled cheese dish, basically, with tomato soup. And I remember reading this and going, oh my gosh, how long has it been since I've had a grilled cheese? Y'all, it's been at least 7 years. I stopped reading the book and made myself my first grilled cheese in 7 years. Why? Because that book inspired me to. And it is amazing when books inspire you to do things. Now, that is something that is comparatively small to other things. There are books out there that have created much bigger inspiration for people than going out and making a grilled cheese, no matter how big that was for me, because 7 years is a long time, so it was big for me. But, you know, big, massive inspiration is subjective, obviously. But anytime a book can draw inspiration for any reader, I just see that as a massive bonus and a gem of a book, because at the very least it's inspired something. But how about the nuance of being inspired to pick up another book? So, let's discuss this. I'm not going to go in timeline order with you all, because the first example I want to give you, it might sound a little cheap, but it's an example nonetheless, so I'm going to use it. A long time ago, as a friend of mine would love to quote from High School Musical 2, in a land far away lived a pineapple princess Tiki. But anyway, a long time ago, I saw an ad for a TV show, and this ad looked so captivating. I remember watching the first episode and loving it so much. And then I remember getting all the way through the series, and my only disappointment in the entire series of this TV series was, why does it have to end? And then, of course, I go down a bit of a spiral every time I get to the end of one of my favorite TV series and think, of course it came to an end. It's one of my favorite series, and yet there are other series out there that go on for so many seasons that I don't like, but that's a topic for another day. Trust me, if you want a video on that, I have many examples to give you where I have a series I love that might last 1 or 2 seasons, and then a series that I don't like using the H word, but a series I might hate goes for like 40 seasons. I love The Simpsons, so no, I'm not referring to them. But there are other shows where I'm like, how did this one last this long? And mine got 1 season, man. But this show was Shadowhunters, and I absolutely loved it. And then I had heard a lot of controversy on BookTube And the controversy was that Cassandra Clare, who wrote the canonical books for Shadowhunters, the Shadowhunters universe, the show is based on specifically the series in that universe called the Mortal Instruments series. I decided I'm going to pick up the first book, see what I think. There are people out there who love it, people out there who hate it. Where do I fall? And I was ready. You'll believe me when I say I was ready to do a rant review. I'm literally holding City of Bones in my hands right now as I speak. And I remember being at the bookstore, purchasing this book and thinking, yeah, I'm going to purchase this book. I'm going to do an amazing rant review on it because I'm sure I'm going to hate it, but let's give it a go. And I loved it. So I continued on with the series. What the TV series and the book series did for me is so much. But one thing in particular that they both have in common is that I have a character in them that I love. And I have a character in them that I love so much more, which is kind of interesting. So my favorite character, if you're a fan of Mortal Instruments or the Shadowhunters TV show, same thing, just different visual and reading mediums, is Alec. I love Alec. Alec is my fictional boyfriend. I have a lot of love for Alec Lightwood. But one of my favorite characters to read about that would not be my fictional boyfriend would be Magnus Bane. And I remember coming to the end of the Mortal Instruments series and being inspired to pick up this book, The Bane Chronicles. Now, I have not picked up The Bane Chronicles yet. However, next month, I am reading this book, The Red Scrolls of Magic, which is the first book in the Eldest Curses series, and this book features Magnus and Alec as main characters, which has me incredibly happy. And in January, February of this year, I read the first two books in the Infernal Devices series, which did feature Magnus in a cameo role. I started book 3, Clockwork Princess, and I DNF'd it. We'll go into that another time. But yeah, it's a cheap example because all of these books are by the one author. They're all by Cassandra Clare, but the Mortal Instruments series motivated me to want to read more about Magnus Bane. And that's what motivated me to pick up more books from this universe, because it's important for you to know that the Mortal Instruments series on its own was not enough for me to pick up more books in the series. But Magnus Bane as a character was more than enough for me to want to keep going. All right. Now, let me give you another example. This example is the first in my reading timeline, the very first time that a book inspired me to pick up another book. In this second example, the book that I was inspired to read actually came up in the first book. So, literally. So it wasn't like, oh, this book is making me want to read something like this. No, it was more that in the first book, it mentioned the second book. So I decided I'm going to read the second book. So let's put The Diva Rules by Michelle Visage up on the screen. This is an adult memoir written by Michelle Visage. For those of you who don't know, Michelle Visage is famous for many things, but arguably she is most famous as the second in charge, in command, on the judging panel of the hit TV show RuPaul's Drag Race, and she is known as RuPaul's best squirrel friend, or girlfriend, if you prefer. And yeah, I did not know that Michelle had released a memoir, and on one of the episodes, they were doing a book challenge, and Michelle showed her book. Because, of course, why not plug it? And I thought, oh my goodness, Michelle wrote a book. And then I found out it was her memoir, and I gave it a go. And overall, I really did enjoy the book. It took me a while to get into because I feel like it's part memoir, part tips and advice that you can be given if you encounter what she did at that point in her life. But I still enjoyed it overall, and I don't remember the rating I gave it, but I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars. While I was reading this book, Michelle talks about a moment where she was going through a very dark patch in her life and things were just really tough for her. So her dear friend RuPaul recommended a book to her. She thought, well, I got nothing to lose. I might as well read this book. Don't know how it's going to help me, but fine, I'll give it a go. And it changed her life. Now, it's not enough for someone to say, this book changed my life for me to want to pick it up, but Michelle spoke in great detail about what the book was trying to do, and from hearing what that was, that inspired me to want to pick it up myself. So I put a rush order onto this book, and as soon as I was done reading The Diva Rules by Michelle Visage, I read the one book she recommended in her memoir, this book, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. So this, like with Michelle Visage's book, is a non-fiction book. I very seldom read non-fiction books, and if I'm going to read non-fiction, it's almost always a memoir like Michelle Visage's book was. This book, A Return to Love, is the only non-fiction that is not a memoir that is on my bookshelves, and I will never get rid of it because of what it is. So anyway, long story short, I got through this book, A Return to Love, and I gave it 5 stars. It is a self-help book where the author, Marianne Williamson, is trying to help everyone find a way to return to a place of love. And I think as someone who is filled with love, I have so much love in to spread around the world to everyone. I wanted to see what Marianne Williamson was going to say in this book, and I figured I'll take some tips and leave others, but I loved everything about this book, and I've recommended it ever since. So yeah, I'll just very quickly recommend it again. I think that if you are someone who is looking to find a way to return to a place of love for yourself and love for others, I recommend it. Or if you know someone who could do with finding their way to return back to a place of love for themselves and for others, I do recommend this book because it was fantastic. And when it comes to love, it is mostly like platonic love, just love for yourself, love for life, love for friends, love for family. It was fantastic. I just really, really, really highly recommend it. But now we get on to my third example, and the reason why I wanted to do this video today. Because, my friends, today, Mr. Francy was inspired to pick up a book thanks to a book he was reading. Okay, so let's put this book up on the screen. It is Amina's Song by Hannah Khan. This is a middle grade contemporary, and I gave this book an overwhelming 5 stars. So this is the second book in the Amina's Voice duology. I struggled with book 1, but I loved book 2 from start to end. If you want to know more, check out my reading vlog, because I go into more detail over there. Anyway, so all I'm going to say about this book, because it leads to the inspiration, is that we are following a middle grade girl who was born in America, whose family cultural background is Pakistani Muslim. And this second book, its main theme, because there's a lot of things that go on in this second book, but the main theme, to cut a long story short, is about having pride in your culture. And I really appreciated what Hannah Khan did with this book. When I got to the end of the book, I think it was like the second last chapter, I was thinking, wow, I've really misunderstood a lot about the Muslim religion. And Hannah Khan really helped open up my eyes to things that I misunderstood. And yeah, I'm not trying to say read this book, but if you feel that you may have done that, pick up the book. You never know. you may come to the same conclusion I did, you may not. But there were some things that hit really deep for me, even though it's a middle grade book, in that I need to take a step back and consider certain things that I thought about and yada, yada, yada. So this book inspired me to want to delve a little deeper into the Muslim religion with my reading. And one of... there are things that I wonder if I should actually say. Okay. One of the things that I wanted to do was pick up a book that delved into the Muslim culture from the perspective of someone that was gay. Because I wanted to learn more about the struggles of someone from the LGBTIQ plus community like myself, so it hits closer to home, going through a cultural background that included this religion. And so once I finished Amanah's song and gave it the overwhelming 5 stars it deserved, I actually went out of my way and did some research. It's been a while. It has been a hot minute since I've done some research to specifically find a specific type of book that I am after. In fact, the last time I did this was I was looking for a horror book that had a game in it that was going to excite me but was also extremely horrific. And I came across The Housemates by Ian Rob Wright, and I never looked back. So, and that was a while ago when I did that. So I was a bit rusty, but, did my research, and I came up with this book, How It All Blew Up by Arvin Ahmadi. So, yeah, I did a lot of research, found that book. I found, actually, unbelievably, I found a list on Goodreads of 50, which blew my mind, 50 LGBTIQ plus Muslim books, which had you asked me to give you a number of how many LGBTIQ plus Muslim books were out there, I probably would have said, oh gosh, you're lucky if you find a couple, like maybe 3 or 4. So the fact that I found 50 blew my mind, and it gave me a plethora of books to look through. I end up going into this one, and I go into books blind, but I want to give you a very basic premise. We follow this boy who, I'm so sorry, I don't remember his name, and I don't have the physical book on me. But we follow this boy who has just graduated from high school, and he is gay. He was new at the school. The buddy that was assigned to him to show him around the school is a jock on the football team who is straight. But one day, our main character sees him in a vulnerable situation and helps him. They secretly end up going out. This is not a spoiler because we find this out in chapter 1. They secretly end up going out, and 2 members of the football team end up finding out about this and snap a picture of them kissing, and then they corner the main character and threaten that if he doesn't pay $1,000 to them, then on graduation day they are going to expose him for being gay to his Muslim parents. So they're basically, holding him and that secret of his for ransom. Now, this book opens up with our protagonist in an interrogation room being interrogated because he and his family were on a plane and they caused a disturbance by having an argument. And on the very first page, our main character says, "It's not what you think. I know that you took one look at us and thought, oh, by the look of them, it's this," which... Anyway, it's this thing that I'm sure you know what I'm referring to. It's this, but it's actually not. we were having a dispute, and now I'm going to tell you what the dispute is about. And the dispute very much seems to be an argument that was going on with the family, all to do with the fact that he is gay and they are Muslim. And that's exactly what I wanted to get into the crux of. But again, this is another great example of a book, in this case, I mean a song, inspiring me to pick up another book. It is such a rare gem when a book inspires anyone to do anything, but when a book can inspire a reader to pick up another book, that, and more importantly with this one that I'm now currently reading, more importantly a book that was not on their TBR to begin with, for someone like me who is a complete stickler for my TBR to the point that I almost never deviate from it, and I always stick to the order I say I'm going to read all the books in on my TBR. That is a rarity for me to break my TBR because a book has inspired me so much to pick up something else and break my steadfast TBR that I stick to. I think that is just incredibly special. So, let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. Have you had books that have inspired you to do certain things? Or, more on topic, you can please do discuss that with me. But also, more on topic, have you had books that have inspired you to pick up other books? Let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it, letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone.